Oh no! What do you do when you make a mistake? All right, so I want to talk about making mistakes in this episode. Hey everyone, I'm Howard Kingston, co founder of Growth Velocity Academy, marketer and entrepreneur. And you know what? Like, mistakes happen. All right. Marketing mistakes, product mistakes, business mistakes, they happen. All right, so I was talking to someone I know this week, and yeah, they've been launching a big campaign. All right, a marketing campaign, like it involved a new product, it involved a new website, and basically didn't go according to plan. All right, there was like typos, there was typos, there was like problems with the product, just basically on the day it was supposed to go live, lots of stuff went wrong. All right. Now, guys, what do you do when stuff like that happens? Because, like, let's just be honest here. Let's just have a bit of real talk. All right. This stuff happens, you know? Like, what's the saying? There's a great quote that, the only way to keep a ship safe is by leaving it in the harbor. But that's not what ships are built for, right? So really, in this episode, I want to talk about what happens how do you deal with a mistake when they come up? Not if they come up, when they come up. And like here is the thing, guys. I'm not going to be here and be the type of person that's going to be like saying I've never made a mistake before. So it kind of reminded me when I was talking to this person this week. Kind of reminded me of something that happened to me a little while ago. So a few years ago, I was launching this gaming business with some buddies in London. Story of this company called I Am Player. We eventually went on to grow it to 20 million users. That's the great success part of it. But of course, along the way, there was a lot of bumps. And it really reminded me of this one time we were doing a campaign with an influencer. It was really early influencer marketing. Now, Instagram at that point, I don't think Instagram had launched yet, or it was just launching. So like Instagram influencers just weren't really a thing at that point. And but Facebook pages were really big. I think this is even before the Facebook Edge rank came out. So they were. So yeah, so Edge rank hadn't even come out. So if you did a post on Facebook on a page, everyone would still see it. Like, this is proper old school. Anyway, there was a big football player, really big soccer player who was we had paid to promote our game. All right, it was a soccer game, so it made real sense. And anyway, we paid them, and I remember we paid them a lot. Like, I think it was like a 5-figure sum, right? So not insignificant. And anyway, their post went live, and we'd done some of this stuff before. And anyone who's done influencer marketing knows that when a post goes live, you almost instantly see a massive spike, all right, of traffic. And that happened. And as we saw the spike come in, as the post went live, just that literally that moment, the development team had decided to update the product. All right. And when the product was being updated, no one could access it. No one could log in. No one could register. So all of a sudden we had this like huge surge of like traffic, and no one could sign up. It was terrible. And why did that happen? It was because I didn't communicate properly to the rest of the team that the influencer thing was happening. Some of the team knew, but some of the dev team didn't know. Anyway, cut a long story short, it was a nightmare. But you know what? We survived. All right. It was okay. We got the product back up and all the rest of it. But I definitely learned a big lesson. And that's what I want to talk about today, right? Is mistakes happen. How do you deal with them? All right. When they happen, not if they happen. All right. So 3 top tips to help you with your dealing with mistakes. So tip number 1 when a mistake happens is breathe. Just breathe. All right. Get a bit of perspective. Mistakes do happen. All right. Mistakes do happen. There's nothing we can do about that. And, you just want to get a little bit of perspective and go, okay, this has happened. The world's not going to end. Uh, what do I do here? How do I best deal with it? All right. And a couple of things I always like to think to give myself a little bit of perspective. One is just to remember, okay, listen, no matter what's just happened here, I'm going to go to sleep tonight. I'm going to wake up a bit better tomorrow. And this time next week, I'm going to feel a bit better. And you know what? In, a year's time, I'm not even going to remember this. All right. Unless it's kind of like as a story over a drink or something like that. Right. So I just like to think of that because in the great scheme of your life, this might feel hugely important right now, but in the great scheme of your life, you're not even going to remember it. Right. So breathe. And on the subject of perspective, like remember that pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, learning new things, that's when typically you do make mistakes, all right? And it's part of the game. It's part of the process. I remember reading about a basketball player who was kind of reflecting on all the mistakes he had made in basketball, and he was saying that 9,000 times in his career he had missed shots. All right, 9,000 times, and he'd lost 300 games. Right? Imagine that, 300 games. And 26 times in a game, it was down to the last point. He'd been given the ball. The whole stadium was there, like watching him. If he throws the point and wins, they win the game. 26 times he missed. Imagine that, 26 times in a match-winning shot, he missed. All right. And so, like, he just kept on failing over and over again. But then he says at the end of that sentence, he says, but that's why I succeeded, because I did fail so many times. I kept stepping up. That guy's name is Michael Jordan. People, you've heard of him, and it's just such a great reminder. Give yourself perspective. Sometimes it's like pushing yourself, making your mistakes, setting yourself up, doing those things. Mistakes are going to be happening, guys, when you're driving in the red, at the high speed. And you know what? Mark Zuckerberg's kind of ethos for Facebook is move fast and break things. So don't stop moving fast and breaking things. If you're moving fast and breaking things, you're going to break a few things. Okay, so perspective. Tip number 2 is, all right, but perspective is good. If you've made a mistake, perspective is good, but listen, it doesn't stop you from addressing the situation. So tip number 2, you got to roll up your sleeves and get into the zone. Just get tunnel vision, get into the zone and address and fix the issue, right? If something's gone live, you don't rely on someone else to do it. You just get in there, look at everything that could possibly have gone wrong and fix it as fast as you can. All right. So that is, once you've got a bit of perspective and you're able to breathe and you're not having a nervous breakdown, just fix the problem as fast as you can. All right. And when you're addressing it, the key thing that I see people not doing, a big mistake people not doing, is just communicate the problem. Don't go into yourself. Don't go quiet. Communicate. If the team your team needs to be communicated, think who needs to be communicated with. Maybe it's just a Slack message to your team or an email to your team. Hey guys, this has happened. This is what I'm doing to resolve it. This is an example timeline, and I'll update you in the next 1 hour. That's all you need to do. If you're in a supportive team, people will know things happen, and so things will happen, but you gotta communicate. All right. So communicate with the team. This is what's happened. This is what I'm trying to fix it. This is the timeline, and I'll update you again in X time, maybe in the next hour. That's all people want to hear. Okay. It's when people go quiet and then other people on the team don't know, are they looking into it? Are they fixing it? Are they not? Are they blah, blah, blah? So people just want to know that you got this. All right. So if the mistake has happened, just say, I got this. This is what I'm doing. All right. And then tip number 3 is learn from it. All right. And that is, you learn from it by doing a retrospective. All right. So, what is the retrospective? So, in software development, there's a meeting that happens at the end of every sprint called a retrospective meeting. And that's when people, it's retro. You look back over what happened, what went well, what didn't. And there's a certain structure for that. And that's a really key point when you've made a mistake. This is a great thing to do anyway, even if no mistake has happened when you've finished a project. But I appreciate not everyone does that. But when a big mistake has happened, you be the person that proactively books in a meeting with the other stakeholders going, okay, guys, this thing has happened. Let's learn from it. Because the reality is, if a mistake happens and you learn from it and then you get better as a company and as a team and your product gets better as a result, it can actually turn a negative into a real positive. All right. So get that retrospective booked in. And here's how you run a retrospective. Okay, so you get your team together, could be virtual, could be in person. And the first thing you want to do is just name the situation, what happened. Then, first thing you want to cover is go, okay, guys, listen, some things didn't go right and we're going to cover them in a minute. But first, what positives did come out of what we did? Because guess what? Even though you might think everything broke, but there will be some positives. Oh, you launched the product. At least you got it out on time. Maybe you had a few people signing up. It showed there was some interest. The fact that people noticed the issue shows that people are interested in it and things like that. And you can make it very quick. Don't spend too long on this. Time box it to maybe 5 minutes and you can go around everyone in the team. But just log what the positives are, okay? Really quickly. It just sets the tone and the mood to be positive and, a positive one rather than just load of finger pointing. No one likes finger pointing, all right? Then you move into the meat of it. And this is where you kind of list the issues. And you want to make sure all the issues that came up, specific things, all right? Is it communication? What happened? Just dig into it. Is it most of the time it's a communication issue or it's a process issue in my experience. Very rarely is it because it's a person issue. The person was just incapable. That's rare in my experience. And, if that is the issue, then, usually, people have proven themselves and they're in a team because people trust them and things like that. So usually it's actually a process issue. Maybe there was, someone didn't know they had to check that, right? Oh, I didn't know I had to test that. I thought someone else was testing that. Well, that's an issue in the process. There should be a clear process that the testing is owned by somebody. Okay. And you can learn from that. So that means that doesn't happen again. So again, in the retro, first, say what happened well, what worked well, and then second, list all the issues that did come up, and then how you could solve it so they didn't come up again. Okay, so you want to list the issues, explore them a bit, and then have a plan to make sure all the issues, how they wouldn't come up again. And just a bit of insider tip on this, a bad answer does not, all ideas are good, but one thing that I don't like to hear in a retrospective is, oh, I'll just remember next time. No, because people forget things. When people are busy, they forget. So you don't want to rely on someone just go, oh, I forgot that. Next time I will remember. That's the only thing I don't like to hear in a retrospective. I like to have something solid in place, maybe a checklist, or maybe, a calendar reminder once a week put in to check something. All right. Checklists are great. There's a great book called The Checklist Manifesto, which I highly recommend. And it kind of breaks down why checklists are so effective to stop mistakes. All right. Pilots. Every time a pilot goes into the cockpit, they have a checklist. And it's been created because it has been proven that pilots forget things. But a checklist that they have to tick off every single flight reminds them to check every single thing. Every single dial that has to be checked, they check before a flight. And it has statistically proven to reduce airline crashes. The same with doctors. Doctors in a surgery will have a checklist that they have to go through before they perform surgery, and it has proven to drop the number of mistakes in a surgery situation. So if it's good enough for them, guys, I think we can learn from it. All right. So in this episode, I was talking about mistakes. Things happen, guys. All right. And they are going to happen. They're going to happen to you. Where none of us are perfect. I'm definitely not. But it's how you react to them. And a really good way to react to them, just like I mentioned, was one, breathe. It gets perspective, puts you in a better light to be able to deal with the situation. Then just deal with it. Roll up the sleeves, get involved, just get it done and communicate to your team. And then third, once it's fixed and once you've kind of, not on the same day, maybe a few days later, book in what's called a retrospective. So you all learn, and as a team, as a company, as you as a leader, you get better, you all get better, and it doesn't happen again. All right. So guys, hopefully this episode was useful. I know it will be. If there's anyone that needs to hear this and that's going through some mistakes or something bad that's happened, maybe send this to them. I'm sure it'll help. And don't forget, anytime I can help you, there are a few ways I can help you. One is I run a live training every single week. There's a link to it below in the notes on this episode. Do book in, or if you want some more one-on-one help, we've got a series of events and courses coming up. You'll see a link down below where you can book in a time with one of my coaches to have a chat with them about that if you'd like to learn more and join us. I'd love to. Okay guys, I'll see you on the next episode.